goal inside the 2. Wilson takes the snap, handoff, Hall up the middle, extra effort at the goal line. The ball popped out.
The runner broke the plane of the goal line, therefore by rule that is a touchdown.
The Jets have a touchdown! Breece Hall did indeed break the plane. 8 seconds to go. He takes the snap, drops back, looks downfield. He's going to throw one as far as he can. Heaves it in the back of the end zone. It is knocked around. It might have been intercepted. It is! LaMarcus Joyner picks it off. All zeros on the clock. The Jets have won it.
Unbelievable, Bob.
That's how the New York Jets reached a 2-2 so far through 4 games in the 2022 season. Ethan Greenberg, Quincy Enunwa here for Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Anthony Beck joining us from Florida. We'll hear from Caroline Hendershot and Eric Allen from Cleveland. Again, final score 24-20. The New York Jets 2-2 on the 2022 season. Quincy, another dramatic finish against an AFC North opponent.
Yeah, exactly. It was a great win for these guys, man. I love to see what they did. You know, they started off a little bit slow, but I think even with that momentum they had by bringing in Pickett, these guys were able to rally behind their quarterback and win the game.
Mitch Trubisky, the first half quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, before turning the keys over to Kenny Pickett, the rookie first-round pick out of the University of Pittsburgh for the first time this season. Anthony Beck, what does it say about this New York Jets team, again, to win in the fashion that they did?
Well, I think if we've looked at the Jets teams in the past, winning in the fourth quarter has not been high on the priority list as far as accomplishing that. To go in, play great defense, great offense in the last 15 minutes of the game speaks volumes about it, about this team and their resilience, especially about the quarterback. You know, Zach Wilson played an up and down game throughout, but when they needed him to make throws, when they needed conversions on third and even fourth downs, you know, he stood strong. He stayed in the pocket and delivered. And I think that's a great sign for this football team. And again, winning is contagious. You win games like that in the fourth quarter. When you get in those situations again, it makes you feel confident in those scenarios as well.
The Jets got out to a 10-point lead, 10-0. The Steelers come back, take a lead 20-10 before the Jets answer back with 14 points of their own. Again, final score 24-20 in Pittsburgh. Anthony, you were talking about Zach Wilson, up and down performance, 18 of 36, 252 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. We're going to break his performance down. We're going to hear from him. But let's start with you, AB. Just what are your initial thoughts of the way that he played and the way that he was able to come back and lead this team to victory?
I thought he played confident. I mean, clearly when you get sacked one time, that shows his ability to evade those sacks and those opportunities that come up. That's something you don't have with a Joe Flacco at the quarterback position because of athleticism. Those crucial third down throws, especially late in the game, were big. And I liked the fact that he saw the field. The reason why I can say that is because multiple receivers were available to him, and he found multiple guys, even in the fourth quarter, where he could have leaned on one guy or a favorable target to go to, play in and play out. He went to the tight end. He went to multiple receivers. Davis had a catch. Moore, Wilson, multiple players were showing up, and he found them, even the backs out of the backfield. So shows me that he was thoroughly prepared in the plan that the Jets offense had put together. He knew what he was going to do. The completion percentage really doesn't mean much to me. Those will get better as the weeks go on, but able to go in there and put those daggers in the back of a defense on the road and win a football game for your football team and make those plays, that's huge for Zach Wilson.
And Wilson completed passes to 8 different Jets. Quincy, we were watching the game, and it felt like Zach Wilson did a very good job of standing in the pocket when he needed to, delivering strikes, which maybe last year he would have tried to escape.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really encouraging. I love to see what he was kind of making sure that he did out there. You saw the chemistry between him and Corey Davis reignite. They had some great plays last year. So to see that happen again in the fourth quarter, to see Corey Davis staying firm, knowing that his time was coming, it's hard to do as a receiver. But as far as Zach goes, it was really encouraging to see him coming back from not playing so many games and really standing back there, not getting too jittery. He had his moments before a young quarterback to do what he did, especially in that fourth quarter, to get that drive, 10-play drive. That is hard to do, and to maintain that, I'm really happy about that.
Corey Davis had a huge fourth down conversion. He actually led the Jets with 5 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. That touchdown brought the Jets to within 3 points by a score of 20-17 before Breece Hall got the game winner on the ensuing possession for the New York Jets. And Caroline Hendershot caught up with Davis after the game.
Here with wide receiver Corey Davis. Corey, your touchdown in the fourth quarter got the Jets within 3, really put them back in this game. What did you see?
I mean, they do a lot of different things. They're a great defense, great secondary. So, it took a really good game for us to come out here and do what we do. We kind of took our foot off the pedal a little bit, that second quarter and a little bit of the third. But, we picked it up and found our rhythm.
You mentioned that second quarter and the third, Jets did not answer 20 points consecutively from the Steelers. How did the offense get this team back in the game?
It's tough. I mean, we kept just saying, stay in it. E going up and down the sideline, telling dudes to stay in it. Zach, our leaders, we really leaned on them, and they did a good job of, just keeping us in the game and making sure that, we don't get in the rut, because we weren't really down that bad. So we found our rhythm, we got back in it, and found a way to get the win.
Of course, Zach Wilson's first game back. What do you think of the way he led this offense today?
Man, Zach's a warrior. He got a lot of heart, man. I'm proud of the way he came out here and competed. Man, he's a dog. I'm definitely excited to see what he's going to do for us the rest of the year, man. I'm glad he's with us.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Corey.
Great stuff from Corey Davis. You're watching Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg, Quincy Enunwa, and let's bring in Anthony Becht. Guys, let's start with our turning point of the game. And actually, Corey Davis, you can make the argument that the fourth down conversion, the 4th and 7, was the turning point. Let's actually go to earlier in that drive. Garrett Wilson, 35-yard reception that put the Jets in Steelers territory. Here it is right here, 3rd and 6. Wilson to Wilson, and there you have it, the rookie, the 10th overall pick, puts the Jets in Pittsburgh territory. That leads to Corey Davis's touchdown, and then the rest is history. Quincy, let's start with you. That play really felt like it sparked the Jets. What did you see from that point, or really before that point, that didn't exist in the Jets offense?
Yeah, I would say that it was a big play just because it felt like there was a chance that the drive could have stalled right there. It was a 3rd down, 3rd and 6. They hadn't done very well on 3rd and medium to long. So to see them convert on that play, it was a huge boost, a huge resurgence for them. I think they needed to see that so they knew that, okay, this is a possibility that we can get back in this game and do what we need to do.
Garrett Wilson only had 2 catches, that being one of them. Anthony Becht, when you're in a 3rd and long situation and you're dialing up a pass that goes pretty deep, like, what are you thinking there? Because the Jets were in need of a chunk play, but really you got to get the first down first.
Well, number one, you really don't want to force it as a quarterback. You get in those long distance situations, quarterbacks probably throw it more into traffic, try to get something and squeeze a play in. The great thing about it is you have receivers that actually find open spaces. Once they find the open space and you hit them, now it's on the receiver to get those yards or maximize those yards to convert. And it gave you an opportunity to get yourself in a position to make another play and another play after that. So just trusting what you're doing, having composure in the pocket. I thought Zach looked composed. He didn't look like he was patting the ball or, attempting to do something he couldn't do. And to be quite frank, the Pittsburgh Steelers pressure was pretty good throughout the game. I mean, they squeezed the pocket quite a bit on several of his throws. He stood in there and delivered. That's what you want your quarterback to do. Not a lot of quarterbacks did that today throughout the NFL.
And the Steelers only had 1 sack, but this is the storyline for the New York Jets. Zach Wilson, you're taking a look at his numbers. What's not shown is actually his 4th quarter stats. 10 of 12, 128 yards and 1 touchdown for a rating of 138.9. All right, let's head back out to Pittsburgh to bring in EA. EA, 2 crazy games on the road so far for the Jets this season, both against AFC North opponents. What was the mood in the locker room and among players and coaches like postgame after this one?
I would say I think it's a joyous mood, but I also think this team expects to win. They expect good things to happen. They've been saying that all along. We saw that in Cleveland in week 1, where they came back from double digits. They were down 13 points with 1:55 remaining. Here, they faced different adversity, Ethan, down 20-10. The Steelers had answered the Jets' first 10 points with 20 consecutive points, and this place was jumping. And that really showed the fortitude of this team scoring those final 14 points. Zach Wilson said it was an ugly football game at times, but they got it done. And I'll tell you what, an impressive victory for a young team that is continuing to take steps forward.
Yeah, EA, one of the guys who's maybe not necessarily a young buck on the team because he has so much experience is Corey Davis. Just what did you think about the way he played, particularly down the stretch, and how valuable do you think his presence is for somebody like Zach Wilson?
I think he's huge. The bottom line is at 20-10, the Jets had a couple big conversions. Third down to Garrett Wilson that got them close to midfield. But then there was a fourth down when they were in plus territory, and he went to Corey Davis. And Corey Davis actually completed that drive with a touchdown, a great route there in the Steelers' end zone. And then he came up big again. So when the Jets needed big plays, 84 was involved. And we saw that connection early last season when Zach Wilson was a rookie. The guy he was looking to early was Corey Davis. Of course, the Jets have more weapons. We saw that today, but 84 figures big time in the Jets' plans here in 2022.
EA, just what did you make of basically the momentum swing once Kenny Pickett was put into action for the Pittsburgh Steelers? It felt like just watching the game that you could feel that there was some momentum building for Pittsburgh. And what do you think it says about this Jets team that was able to overcome a deficit and beat Pittsburgh and come up with some timely plays?
Well, yeah, it was interesting because early on in this game, you heard the crowd get after Trubisky and company, and they were cheering on Kenny Pickett. They wanted him in the ball game. So when he came into the game, and he played well early on, a couple rush touchdowns, and they took that 20-10 lead. This place was deafening because the Steelers fans have been awaiting this moment since he was taken in the first round, 4 games into his NFL career. Now, what the Jets did today, a key point here is 2018, different team, different rosters, but I remember Baker Mayfield coming into the game and leading the Browns to a comeback victory over the green and white. But this just shows the mettle of the 2022 Jets, that they took the shots from the Steelers, and this place was jumping, and they stared into that, and they came out a winner. So again, the belief tank here is on full for the green and white.
Thanks, EA. We'll see you soon. Safe travels home. Again, you're watching Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. The Jets 2-2 on the season, 2 wins on the road. Final score 24-20 over the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are now 0-7 without TJ Watt in the lineup. Ethan Greenberg, Quincy Enunwa. Let's bring in Anthony Beck. Quincy, EA just mentioned something that you were talking about earlier when we were watching the game, that it kind of had the makings for a Baker Mayfield 2018 Browns-Jets games when Baker Mayfield came in. He led the Browns to victory, rookie quarterback at the time, but the Jets did not let that happen against Kenny Pickett. What did you think of Pickett's performance and really that the way the defense was kind of going in swings of momentum?
Yeah. And, it felt exactly like that. I played in that game. I know how it felt. I think ultimately you look at the Steelers, they were hungry. The fans were hungry for Pickett to get in the game. And you can tell when he got in, they were really loving the momentum. Then they went for that 4th down conversion. It just kind of showed that all signs were going to go in that direction. But the defense really held their own. They kind of gave up a little bit, but it was bend it but don't break. They did what they needed to do, and they maintained exactly what they needed to maintain.
Anthony, can you just talk about, from a player's perspective, when you're on the road in a hostile environment like Pittsburgh, where they're calling for Kenny Pickett's name, they get what they want, Pickett goes in the game, the terrible towels are waving, Renegade starts playing. How difficult is it to try to pull the air out of the stadium, which is what the Jets did?
I actually think it's an advantage. You got a rookie coming in that's never done anything in the league. That's when you should amp it up and really take advantage of the situation. The defenders aren't listening to the crowd or not hearing any of that. All they're saying is, okay, Mr. Trubisky's out. He's the guy that we were preparing for. Here's a guy that probably didn't take any snaps during the week, which from what I'm reading, he didn't during the week. So the plan wasn't to put Pickett in, but I was actually surprised they did it. The game was fairly close. I know Trubisky had not really done much, but let's be honest, when you're right there, it's a risky proposition. It looked like it was good early on, but I think that was more because of what the Jets didn't do more than what the Pittsburgh Steelers did. So I think it actually amps up your opportunity. I think you feel like, okay, we can get this guy to make a couple mistakes. We can find a way to get some interceptions, which they were able to get 3 of them in this game when he played in the second half. So it was a huge, I think, bonus for them. They just had to get themselves right and get back into the game because they really had a lull there from the end of the first half, which honestly, when you're looking at the landscape of the game, was a bit of a disaster for the Jets. You come away, you should have had a field goal. They shouldn't have given up a field goal. At the worst case scenario, you're looking at a 13-3 potential lead, and everything changes to a 10-6 game, and you gave them life coming out of the half.
Yeah, it's a great point, Anthony. Basically, let's just rehash what happened. Zach Wilson throws an interception. The Jets were in field goal range. Could have been up. Could have been a 2-point game, 13-3. Then the Jets roughing the passer on Carl Lawson. Chris Boswell turns that into a 59-yard field goal. 10-6 game going into the half, which is then when Pittsburgh started to gain some momentum. We talked about the turning point earlier. Well, let's talk about the drive of the game, which was the game-winning score. 10 plays, 65 yards. Right there, Tyler Conklin, a third down conversion. Then Zach Wilson goes back to the air, a little check down to Michael Carter, and then later on this drive, Breece Hall finds the end zone in what was really a close play because the nose of the football barely broke the plane. But when you're taking a look at this drive, Quincy, what did you think about the way that it was methodically approached? And two, how difficult of a balance is it when you're talking about wanting to get chunk plays, making sure you're in field goal range, but also making sure the Steelers do not have time to try to score?
Right, exactly. You used the right word right there, methodical, right? They did a good job of milking the clock just enough to where that if they did score, they made sure the Steelers couldn't have enough time to make a play. And that's what you kind of want to see out of your offense. You want to see that out of your young quarterback. I mentioned it earlier, for him to create that drive, create those plays. And they put the ball in his hands and said, do what you need to do. And he did exactly that.
Anthony, when you take a look at that drive and you see how calm and poised Zach Wilson was. This was his first start in his second season. Can you just talk about any kind of growth that you saw in that scenario compared to maybe last season?
Yeah, they looked confident. It didn't look like he was nervous to be in that moment. 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty good. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, to ask your quarterback, hey, in the fourth quarter, deliver 2 touchdowns on our 2 drives. You got it. He's 1-0 this season. So that's all that matters. And I think that's a confidence builder for Zach. And I felt like he looked at like he was confident. He had one bad throw right before the half, which we called. I think Quincy makes a great point about milking the clock. Honestly, I think that's a coaching time management situation there as well. They had 1st and goal. They get the first down. They had 2 timeouts, so they knew they could at least stop the clock and give them an option whether they want to run or whatever they wanted to do. If they didn't get in on 2nd or 3rd down, they had those timeouts. So to bring that clock all the way down, because you look, Pittsburgh gets that ball back. They got to the to midfield. If they had maybe 7 more seconds or 10 more seconds, they could have got a couple more completions. You never know how this thing would have gotten them a little closer. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where it isn't good. So understanding that moment and bringing the clock down was a great job by players and coaches in that stage of the game.
And, of course, the Jets or the Steelers had to burn a couple timeouts for injuries. Taking a look at the game summary right here, the Jets total 348 total yards, 3rd down, 6 of 15, 40%. And you might be thinking that for our telestration segment that Quincy is going to go to Corey Davis, break down some receivers. Instead, we went to the defensive side of the ball with the sacks.
So in the pregame, I talked about the Jets getting pressure on the quarterback, making sure they're getting sacks. So I'm going to highlight 2 plays right here that they did a really good job of it. A lot of times when you think of the D-line, you think the D-line doesn't run any plays. Really all they do is just rush up the field. Just do this. Nice and easy. Nobody has to really think about anything. But the Jets do a good job. They give Quinton Williams a play, make sure he gets to the quarterback. This is your number 1 guy. So we're going to have a play right here with Quinton Williams and Carl Lawson. They do a good job of running this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers O-line. So you see here, Carl Lawson does a good job of taking his guy out of the play to give Quinton Williams a nice lane. Quinton Williams does a good job. He knows he has to run the hump, get around. He beats his man easy, and it's a nice, easy sack for him right there. It's a great play by them, man. You want to see this all the time because you know that you got a great guy on the field, and sometimes the O-line does a good job of figuring out ways to stop these guys. So they did a good job of making this play for him. On this second play right here, we're going to show Carl Lawson, and one thing I like about it is he doesn't do too much. He doesn't need a game. He doesn't need anything. He just wants to use his talent to make this play. So here we go right here. I'm going to make sure you guys can know who I'm talking about right here. This guy does a great play. We always say in football, low man wins. So what Carl does a good job of is getting low, and he has a nice rip. This is a move that you want to see all your guys do. This rip right here to get around his guy, and he gets to the quarterback. And he doesn't quit. He holds his legs down to make sure that he gets him down. It's a great play.
Also, Carl Lawson, this is his 2nd sack on the year, his first full sack in this game. The Jets had 3 sacks total, 2 of them right here. Great job breaking it down. The other one goes to Jermaine Johnson. A lot of people talk about Kenny Pickett, the hometown kid. How about Jordan Whitehead, the hometown kid? Of course, played in Pittsburgh, grew up in the area, and Caroline Hendershot caught up with him after the game.
Here with Jordan Whitehead. Jordan, talk me through your interception that you got. It was a bit of a game changer.
Right. We was getting that play all week in practice. And Mercedes coach been just telling us our technique, stay inside. And then me and LJ, we've been protecting each other. He had my back when it went deep across the field. I seen him, so I kind of slowed up. He made a play on the ball. I picked it. It's all the credit to him for that one.
Not just you today, but LaMarcus Joyner had a great game, couple picks for him. What does this say about this secondary?
We were young. We're young. Besides, me, DJ, and Sauce, we're new here. So we're just young, learning and everything. We're just meeting more, putting things together, just trying to get on the same page.
Steelers threw a little bit of a curveball. They swapped in Kenny Pickett, right, middle of the game, third quarter-ish. How does that change the defensive game plan for you guys?
Right, we had no film on Kenny, maybe a little bit of preseason, but rookie, we didn't know what he could really do. We knew he would run the ball a little bit. He got an arm, but it changed up a little bit for us. We were reading our keys and playing fast, and he kind of slowed us down a little bit. And then once we got going, we figured it out, and we started playing fast.
And Tyler Conklin just came by. Hometown boy you are, born and raised here. You went to college here. How many family did you have in attendance, and how special was this for you today?
Yeah, about 20 people, family, 10 friends, teachers, everything came. And it's great coming back home. Last night, we went to the hotel, and Pitt played last night. And my coach, Narduzzi, was there inside the hotel, and he told me, come talk to the team. And it just kind of got me back in that being home and missing this. But it was great.
Awesome. Thanks for the time, Jordan.
All right, thank you.
Great stuff from Jordan Whitehead, the hometown kid. This is Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg, Quincy Enunwa. That was Caroline Hendershot. Let's bring back in Anthony Becht. We're going to hear from Zach Wilson, who caught up with Bob Wischusen shortly. But I think it's important. We got to hit on a little injury report here. Max Mitchell started the game at right tackle. He went down. He was carted off of the field. It was reported that he was seen on crutches in the locker room. Continue to shuffle up front for the New York Jets. Quincy, how big of a loss would that be for the Jets' offensive line if Mitchell can't go for some time?
Yeah, that's a big one, man. You think about it, there's, 3-4 tackles down now. It's going to be difficult to kind of find somebody to fill in. It's great that AVT was able to move over and, be a great replacement. But, you can't keep having these losses.
Anthony, Quincy talked about AVT. He played left tackle today, which is what he played his final season at USC. He's a versatile piece. There's no doubt about it. What is the way, or how did you think he played today? And how does this now shuffle things for the future if and when you start to get a little healthier?
Played unbelievable. I mean, the guy he's a legit dude. It's not easy to go to guard to left tackle. We talked about George Fant going from right tackle to left tackle, same position, different side, how big of a transition that is. Think about a guard. You're not setting back as much. You're not on an island. There's always guys in between you. I think it's phenomenal. It really, there's not a lot of guys that could have pulled that off in the entire NFL, let alone AVT. So credit to him, regardless of what his grade is or PFF or whatever these people want to grade. You didn't hear much from that side of the field, which is good to see. But that's a huge accomplishment for him to step in there and do that.
And we'll see what happens next week. Dwayne Brown eligible to return off injured reserve. We'll see what happens. It doesn't necessarily mean that he will be activated. It just means that he's eligible. Anthony, we're going back to you. It's time for our report cards. Anthony, we're going to start with you. Where are you going on offense, defense, and special teams?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, anytime you get 2 touchdowns and 2 drives in the fourth quarter, when you're down and you're trying to win the game and you win it at the end, I got to give this team a B+. It was up and down throughout the few quarters of the game, in particular the second and third quarter. So it took me away from giving them an A, but it speaks volume about this offense. From a defensive standpoint, I'll give them another B+. 4 turnovers was extraordinary. Those were needed. Those things sometimes come in bunches when you get interceptions, and they're able to get a ton of them. Some areas that maybe bring that grade out of an A, where I saw about 5 or 6 explosive runs and passes today by the Steelers, which unfortunately you can't have. And then, of course, the 50% third down completion. But they finished it up. And again, defense gets 2 interceptions in the fourth. Offense gets 2 touchdowns in the fourth. And special teams, guess what, guys? We didn't have to talk about anything on special teams. You know what happens when they do that? You get an A. Because if you don't have to talk about special teams, you're going to get an A every single week from me.
All right, Coach Beck, pretty favorable grades as the Jets reach 2-2 on the season. Quincy, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty close into what AB had. I think for my offense, I gave them a B+. You know, like he said, there was moments where they were up and down. I really wanted to give them an A, especially off that last drive. But, you know, there's certain things that you just got to do better at. You know, no more turnovers, those type of things there. Then when I go to the defense, I had to give them an A. I think, you know, if you're able to start as strong as they did, then in the middle with coming in with a quarterback that you weren't prepared for, you know, he's going to have some plays, you know. He's going to have the momentum. But when you're able to then stop him, get picks, get stops, get sacks, that's an A for me anytime. You know, I think the overall picture shows that they really earned that A. Then special teams, like AB said, you know, when we're not hearing from those guys, you know, that's always going to be an A for me. You know, you're doing exactly what you need to do. We talk about three-phase football. If special teams is always getting an A, then it just kind of puts you on the right foot.
No news is good news, I guess, for the special teams, both receiving an A from Coach Enunwa and Coach Beck. And Bob Wischusen caught up with the man of the hour, that's Zach Wilson.
Zach, welcome back. How'd that feel?
Oh, crazy, the emotions of it. You know, but at the end of the day, what a battle by the guys. The defense holding those guys pretty much all night. You know, they did an amazing job with the fight to just keep going when things stalled. And proud of the guys. You know, we're learning and getting better each week.
You mentioned stalled. You had a bad third quarter offensively by anyone's standards, and then you scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth, down by 2 scores. So take us to the sideline in the huddle. What was the best explanation for the rebound?
Right. I mean, it's NFL football. It's going to be grimy. It's going to be ugly. Sometimes stuff's not going to work, and you just got to keep chipping away, keep getting after it. And I thought the guys did that. There was never any quit, you know, on both sides of the ball, and it was really cool to come out with a win there.
I think quarterbacks like to give their love at times to their offensive line. I think your offensive line deserves some love today because they have been through the ringer with injuries. You're moving Elijah Vera-Tucker to left tackle, and yet you were only sacked once, and you had this comeback. I mean, talk about that group up front.
Yeah, huge. I mean, you saw the push by those guys at the end to get the ball into the end zone. We got into a good position, and you know they gave me time to feel comfortable back there, and then taking advantage of the opportunities. Guys switching around, guys playing that haven't played, and you know, huge credit to those guys and everybody else, you know, around the ball. You know, awesome team win. It was really cool.
Well, a lot of fun to watch play again. Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Zach Wilson, as always. Let's go to Twitter. Let's get some of the reactions. Here's DJ Reed. How about my safeties? 2 picks for LaMarcus Joyner, 1 pick for the hometown kid, and Jordan White had great emoji usage, by the way. Then how about the other corner? We're talking about Sauce Gardner. Road Warriors, he says. And I think that's a little explicit unless you want to say, let's freaking go. And then moving on from Sauce, again, in the secondary, Philly Will Parks. This is, I think, how Jets fans feel right now. We won. That's all that matters. Jets now 2-2 after 4. Wrapping up with CJ Uzomah back on track. The Jets have gone loss, win, sit at 2-2 before welcoming in the Miami Dolphins next week at MetLife Stadium for Week 5. We'll see who's playing quarterback for the Dolphins then. So let's finish up things with 2 things. We're going to go our game ball and then our final takeaway. Anthony Beck, your game ball is going to whom?
Pretty easy. Zach Wilson led this team to 2 drives in the fourth quarter for touchdowns. His first game back, we expected a ton of rust. We saw it throughout the game. I thought his arm looked strong. I thought his accuracy was fairly good. There was a couple short passes, intermediate passes that were not in and around the area you would want, but you know, it tipped off an interception. That one bad throw in the first half, right before the halftime, what was probably his worst throw of the game. But man, I'll tell you, that's a hell of a start for him, and I got to make him the MVP.
All right, I like your pick. I think that, to your point, it's a great pick. Quincy Enunwa, your game ball?
Oh, I'm going with Corey Davis.
Of course.
Here, man. I have to. Like, I think it's a lot of people don't understand. As a receiver, it's really hard to get into a rhythm if you don't get a pass in the first quarter, in the first half. Like, it's hard to really get going. So for him to not really get going to the third, fourth quarter, and to make so many big plays for this offense, I'm just so excited to see that for him. That's a veteran presence. That's a guy that's showing the rest of the guys in the room. And that's a young room right there. He's showing those guys this is what you need to do to keep your head in the game, even when it looks like you might be out of the game. game. I'm going to keep my head down and do what I need to do for this team to help us get this win.
And Corey Davis, like I said earlier, led the Jets 5 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. 4 of his catches came in the fourth quarter when the Jets really needed him, including a 4th and 7 conversion that really sparked the Jets to go down the field before Corey Davis's touchdown that brought it to a 3-point game. For my game ball, I'm going on the defensive side. LaMarcus Joyner, 2 interceptions, 4 pass deflections. A lot of people were talking about the communication issues in the back end, and LaMarcus Joyner answered a lot of questions today. He actually had a deflection on the ball that Jordan Whitehead then intercepted. And I also just want to give a shout out to Michael Carter II, because he had an interception, or his pick on Kenny Pickett is what sparked the Jets or gave them an opportunity to have good field position before driving down and scoring at the end of the game with Breece Hall's touchdown. So that's the game ball. Now let's wrap up here on Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM, with our final takeaway. Anthony Beck, the Jets right now 2-2, sitting at 500 with a chance to go above 500, welcoming in the Miami Dolphins next week. Is this basically what you think Jets fans should have signed up for, knowing Zach Wilson wasn't going to play in the first 3 games?
Well, I'm going in a different route and having a little fun on this one. 3 things. Number 1, the Jets are tied for first place in the AFC North. Pretty impressive in their last couple of games playing against those football teams. Now they get a chance to play their own division finally and get some wins under their belt. 2 is Zach Wilson maneuvering that bubble gum in that interview, not being able to show it and see it as he was still fresh in his breath with that interview was impressive. And the third, you're right, I'm going to have to agree with you on the emoji usage on those tweets by those Jets, and getting those tweets out fairly quick after the game. It's amazing how guys are on their phones right after tweeting things out. Different era, Quincy, than we played in.
That feels like a shot at the young guns, I feel like. AB's basically saying everyone's addicted to their phone. That's what I'm getting from Anthony.
No, I'm just saying. I think it's impressive. You know, these guys are all in it. They want to see. We all talk about nobody reads what they see. Or they're in there looking. They're searching their name and they're finding out, but it was really nice and clean emoji usage.
All right. Yeah, I like it. Quincy, where are you going, your takeaway?
Oh, man. Well, I want to follow along with that tweet thing, right? Because the Jets posted a tweet with the black Air Forces, and I love that because when you think about it, Mike Tomlin gave his team black Air Forces, and he also, after the game, told them, walk in your trap and take over your trap. And guess what the Jets did? They walked into Pittsburgh, and they took it over, man. Even with all the momentum they had, bringing in a new quarterback, they said, you know what? This is our house, and we're going to take this win.
You know, I think this is how we should close the show, Jets Overtime. As the Jets reach 2-2 and have a chance to go above 500, everyone was thinking about, where's Zach Wilson's first touchdown going? It was actually to him. Here it is. Braxton Berrios finds Zach Wilson. NFL research put out that Zach Wilson is the first Jets quarterback. Oh, first of all,
the gritty.
Quincy, if you had to grade the gritty form, what are you going with?
I'm going to stay away from that one. But I love the effort.
It's us white guys who got a hard time making the move. That's pretty damn good right there by Zach, man. He did a good job. I got to give him credit.
I love that. All right, so what I was going to say is that Zach Wilson became the first Jets quarterback to catch a passing touchdown. That play the Jets ran last year, very similar to that one. It was a 2-point conversion from Berrios to Mike White. I saw a lot of people talking about that. AB, thank you very much for joining us. Caroline Hendershot, Eric Allen, the boots on the ground from Pittsburgh. That's all we have here on Jets Overtime, presented by SiriusXM. For Caroline, EA, Anthony Beck, Quincy Enunwa, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and we will see you next week when the Jets host the Dolphins at MetLife Stadium.